Welcome back to Becoming Unbound, the podcast where we dive deep into the journeys of those who have broken free from the traditional path and created a life on their own terms. This show is all about the pursuit of freedom, whether that means leaving a 9 to 5, redefining success, or stepping into a more authentic version of yourself. Each episode, we have real, unfiltered conversations with incredible people who have embraced the challenge of building a life that aligns with their passions, values, and purpose. So today I'm sitting down with my dear client and friend, Kendra Thomson. Kendra is a massage therapist, FST specialist, and an energy worker who is redefining the way we think about healing. She's shifting from a traditional pain management approach to a more holistic style of healing, helping her clients get to the root of their struggles, not just their symptoms. With her deep knowledge of body, mind, and energy systems, she's guiding people toward true transformation. Kendra is not only an expert in her field, but also an all-around amazing human being who is passionate about helping others live in alignment with their highest self. So get ready for an inspiring conversation about healing, transformation, and stepping into your true path. Let's dive in. Welcome, Kendra. So glad to have you on.
Thank you so much. That was quite the intro, It's always different when you hear someone else describe you because it's always harder to beef up the resume when you're talking about yourself. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. It's all so true. Oh my gosh, you're such a beautiful shining light in my life, and I'm so happy that you are here today.
I am so happy as well. I'm so excited. I'm get to bust out the microphone, get to talk to you. I'm excited.
I feel like you've watched this whole journey unfold from thinking oh, I think I'm going to start a podcast to are you starting a podcast? And then to you being here. So this is amazing.
It's a full circle moment here. Full circle.
Yes. And so let's tell the listeners how we got to know each other, how we found each other, and sort of what our relationship, how it's evolved over time. You want to start us off?
So I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was through Megan Telpner passed on info. I think that's just how it originally started. But you were gifted a massage from where you were previously working, and I knew the moment you walked in, I was like, I want to be friends with her. I was like, she's my people. And then we started talking one day. I remember I had given you a couple massages, and we were talking, and you're like, so what's your online presence like? And we started talking about online presence, and I was like, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing. I need help with my social media. I don't have the time, the energy. I'm just not good at it. And you're like, maybe we should talk. And I was like, this is I had literally been writing it down that I was going to hire someone. And then you approached me to be like, what have you been doing? What's happening? Probably seeing me struggle on the Instagram, So it's okay. I fully admit I was not good at Instagram, but I think that's kind of how we sparked working with each other. And then you started to be my beacon of light in the realm of getting my thoughts into actual action. And you're my savior right now with my online world. I will happily admit that you helped me continue to help me on my dark days with social media for sure, and in life.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It was so funny. That was one of the first times, the first real pieces of evidence that I found that when you start to speak the truth or speak something that's on your heart that you're just I don't know what this is going to lead to, but I just feel like there's just this itch that I have to say something. And I feel like those are the moments where we don't know what's on the other side of it, but that is one of the pieces of proof that I have taken with me to this day, that when you speak your truth and when you just say stuff that you're feeling, it's amazing how the universe was like, oh yeah, I hear you, done, here you go. It literally works like magic. And I was sort of transitioning, thinking about what else I could start doing, thinking okay, I need to get out of this 9 to 5 thing. What's happening? And social media was the first place that I landed. I've since even evolved in that journey.
Totally.
but it was a great place to start. It was amazing, and I love what we've created for you, and oh my god, that giveaway that we just did with you, that was so fun.
It was honestly so much fun, and I was like, "Oh, this is what it's like." Like, this is what a lot of people do on social media, but it was I don't know, there was something very, like so many people were excited about it. Like, I had a lot of people messaging me being like, "What a great idea. Like, I wanna see you. I wanna get the journal." And so it just sparked up conversation, which has always been the biggest thing for me is, like, I love talking to people because you don't know their story until you start talking to them. So it's always so fun to, like, be in the line of work that I'm in, but just, like, talking to people and getting them excited about stuff because 'cause I'm the same. I'm like a squirrel. I, like, get excited about one thing and then I'm the next thing. And I think it's just so fun. Yeah, it's been so great.
Yeah, the social media world, I feel like it takes a really bad rap because it can get real
Mhm.
dark real fast.
Yep.
And I think there's also such a light community aspect to it where, like, if you can find a really real community for yourself online and have an online presence and, like, be a source of community and bring people together, there's something really, like, beautiful about it. I haven't done any detoxes or anything like that because I keep always seeing the beautiful parts of social media, and it just keeps kind of fueling my, like, yes, this is needed and necessary, and, like, look how many people that we can just talk to and get advice from, and, like, I think my whole life has changed because of social media, like, it's wild.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because there is a perspective shift when it comes to social media, because I know for me, I definitely have to take detoxes because it's such a fast pace, quick click to see. And then if you feel like, oh, I feel stagnant or I don't know what to do next, and then you see these people doing all this stuff, you're kind of the self critic kind of does take over for sure. And I find that, like, in my line of work, they told us in massage school that there's an RMT on every other corner. So, like, if you think about that, I'm like, well, what makes me different? And I'm like, well, I'm me, so I'm going to be different. No one's going to think the way that I think or treat the way I treat. Yes, we might have the same teachings, but we're going to approach things completely different. So it is a good perspective to know there is, in the way that you look at social media, or it can be a positive tool, and, like, knowing when to step away and know when to break. So I think that's like a really beautiful piece to look at. It can be a place to, like, really fuel that fire to be like, I'm changing it, I'm doing it, you know? So that's a really beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah. All right, Kendra, so let's dive into a bit of your journey. Now, I've heard a bit of this, but let's tell the listeners, like, how did you get started? And then was there a moment in this journey up from now until whether you started your career or your, like, just sort of the understanding of the world and how you were existing in it? Was there ever a moment, and you can answer the first part first, but tell us about your journey and then tell us, was there ever a moment where you were going along and then you were like, wait, there's something here that either needs to shift, or, like, you had an aha moment where you're like, I could do things a little bit differently, because you do things a bit differently. And I love that.
I do. Thank you. Um, I don't think there was just one, to be honest. I don't think there was just one moment that was like, I don't like this. I have a gift of listening to myself. Sometimes it's a little annoying because people are just like, why are you not doing that? I'm like, it doesn't feel good. I just don't want to do it. There's something telling me not to do it. But so I went to university in Vancouver for human kinetics. I played university volleyball. So I played 3 years of school. I loved human kinetics. I was like anatomy, like, people were like, whoa, you really get anatomy. And I loved it. Like, I loved learning the muscles, the tendons, the organs. Like, I just loved it. And then not very good at physics, not good at chemistry, biology. Some of those things aren't really my game. And there was two streams in my program. So it was either like exercise science or like a physiotherapist. So I didn't really have the grades to do physiotherapy. So I kind of was just doing, like, the personal training route. And I got my diploma. And I was like, what now? I don't want to be a PE teacher. I don't really want to be a personal trainer. I don't really know what to do. I came home for the summer because I used to obviously I'm from the Yukon, for those who don't know, but I used to go home in the summer and then go back to school in Vancouver. And when I went home for the summer, I was like, I'm going to shadow a physio. Let's see if I like it. Hated it. I, it was like people who this one gentleman, he limped into the physio clinic. He was in an MVA, so a motor vehicle accident. And when he was far enough away from the clinic, he walked normal. So he was kind of milking the system a little bit. And I was like, nope, no, don't want to deal with this. This is not for me. I'm like, I don't listen to my physio. Who's going to listen to me? So I got a massage. It was like my first massage. I think I was 20 at the time. And I loved how she understood the anatomy and she was explaining it. And so she's like, why don't you just apply? See what happens. So I applied and I got in to Toronto, and it was an 18-month program. And I also had told myself I'll apply to finish my degree in kinesiology, or sorry, human kinetics it was called, or go to massage school. And if I got into massage school, I'd go. But if I didn't, I'd go back and finish my degree. And so I got into massage school. So literally like 3 months later, I just like booked my ticket and I arrived here on the 28th of December in 2012. I was living with my mom's sister and my cousins who I hadn't seen in 13 years. And I didn't know what a streetcar was because I lived in Vancouver. There was like, no, there's buses and subways. There's no streetcars. So made it to school, whatever, did my schooling, loved it. And then, yeah, I like was thrown into massage school. Oh, well, sorry, I graduated in 2014, and which is just a trip. I'm starting my 11th year of practice, which is just like, whoa, how did that happen? From there, this is where kind of the start of the freedom, like when I realized I was really trapped, is I worked in multiple clinics. In my career, I've worked about 6, 7 clinics. And one of my first clinics right after out of school, so I was the guinea pig in my class. So everyone that needed answers or needed to like understand what was happening and how to work in a clinic or contracts, I was the guinea pig because everything that was unfortunate happened to me. And I take that as a badge of honor because I learned a lot. I learned read your contracts. I learned like what bosses I didn't want to work with. I learned in what splits were good. And so I learned a lot. I worked in my first clinic and she was doing Groupons for massage. And so I was making $30 a massage and I was doing 8 massages a day with like not very much breaks. I was like dying. I was making no money. I was a slave to the clinic. I had to be there even though I didn't have clients. So I had to be at the clinic present, even though I didn't have clients there. So I'm just wasting my day not making money. And I ended up in the hospital with a migraine, which I'd never had, for 3 days. And I was like, what is going on? I was at work when it hit me and I couldn't stand. I was dizzy. I was nauseous. I went right home to bed with like sunglasses on in bed. Like I didn't know what was going on. My roommate at the time, she took me to the hospital because we couldn't figure out what was going on because I'd never had a migraine before. And they put a bag of morphine and nothing happened. Nothing changed. And I was like, they wanted to do a spinal tap on me. And I was like, no. I was by myself at the hospital. I was like, I'm not doing a spinal tap. And so I just went home and a couple days later it went away. And I was like, what the hell was that? So I hit this point where I was like, I am a slave to a job. I don't like this. I love my clients, but like my boss kind of did some unfortunate things, wasn't very pleasant, but she got me because I signed a contract and I had to give 2.5 months notice or she would fine me $1,500 or something like this. And I didn't know. I was like right out of school. I didn't really know. I was like, it's my first job. My aunt at the time was like a lawyer and she's like, why didn't you read your contract? And I was like, I didn't think they were going to hoop me into like paying them if I leave. Like I've never heard of that before. So I gave my notice and she didn't book me any clients. So we're not working for about 2 months, sitting at a clinic, maybe having 1 client a day. And I was like, never again will I let this happen to me. Never again. So that was the first one where I was like, this is not freedom. This is not why I went into this job. I thought a clinical setting was like we worked together. I was the moneymaker for like massage because they're a higher ticket item in the sense of like you can charge more per hour. But I saw less people as than a physio or a chiro can see because they can do 15 to half hour appointments. So that was like the first one. And then to be honest, every other clinic after that was kind of just like a train wreck that I just kept putting myself through. I worked at a clinic at the airport. So I would transit to the airport, work in the clinic in one of the terminal 3. There was a physio clinic, very smart. So I worked there for 3 months. And then I ended up at another clinic, which is the same thing where it was unfortunately, I'm going to say this. I love chiropractors, but he was a chiropractor and he just wasn't the best. And he just wanted fast turnover. So that was clinic number 3. And then I went to another clinic where all these people that used to work at that clinic had started their own clinic, and it was the best. I worked there for a couple of years. It was great. Had a unfortunate ending, but it was the right time for me. And then from that point on, it was like, okay, I'm running my own business. I'm over this. I'm over the split as a massage therapist. A regular split is 60-40. So, and a clinic will take 40% of every treatment that you charge, which adds up. Like if you're charging $100, you're only taking home 60, and then you have to pay HST on top of that, and then you're paying your taxes. So out of a massage, you're really only making 30 bucks. So it ended up, it's a big hit when you're working in a clinic. So I slowly started to realize that this wasn't the life for me and I was going to do it on my own. All the clinics I'd been to, I slowly clients had found me and they kept coming back to me. So they would follow me to my house or I'd go to their house, and the word just started to spread, and I just started to collect my own little clientele until I hit the point back in 2018 when I was working at one clinic part-time, and I was mostly working on my own as well. And then I was like, I'm done. I'm over working for people. I want my own schedule. I don't want to sit here if I don't have clients. I don't want you to take half my pay. I just want to do what I want to do. I want to work in a clinic to work with people. The clinical setting, I thought I would learn so much, and I thought I could like work with an osteo or work with a chiro or work with it's all solo. And I don't love that. I love working in a team, and oh, Carly, do you know how to do this? Can you help me with this? But there wasn't really much of that. Some clients or clinics say they'll do that, but it didn't really ever happen. And it just kind of hurt my heart. So I was like, well, at least I can build my own team of myself and practitioners I trust. And at least I can refer my clients to these people and they would refer back to me, kind of thing. So I created my own system, not in a clinical setting. And that was kind of like the point where I was like, I'm tired of being trapped down. I want to be my own person. I want to have my own choices and take time off if I want to take time off, or take on an extra client because I want to take on an extra client, not because I'm being forced into it or pigeonholed into staying late at work or whatever it have you. So that was kind of my long-winded answer to why how I started my journey. And then also back in 2018, I also kind of got cracked open, and that's when my spiritual journey also really began. I kind of hit rock bottom with depression, and I had a healer's contact for a year. And one of my clients had given it to me. He's like, you have to try this guy. He's amazing. He's a chiropractor. He does a bunch of different stuff. I was actually really scared to see him. So I held on to that contact for a year. And then I hit rock bottom with depression. And the best way I could describe it was the light inside. I could talk to you, I could smile with you, but as soon as you walked away, the light was dark. I felt nothing was the best description. I was seeing a therapist at the time. I had a personal trainer. I was cleaning out my diet. I was trying everything and nothing was working. I didn't really want to go on medications. I don't really respond well to them. So I was really trying to just try all the other avenues. So I was like, okay, what's the harm? Let's go see this guy. And I walked in being like, if he wants me to dance in a monkey suit, I will dance in a monkey suit. Cause I was at that point. Cause I was like, I don't know what I was actually telling my clients that I was going to move back home to the Yukon. Cause like Toronto kind of sucked my soul, and I was done. So I walked into his office, and he's like, he's like, you're a healer. He's like, you're really burnt out and you're really lonely. And I was like, what? How do you know that? And like, I did not say a word. I hadn't even spoke. And that was the first thing that came out of his mouth. I walked out of his office. I could take a full breath. I think that was the first time I had taken a full breath in months, maybe even a year. I felt like 6 inches taller. I felt like my head was like this high. And I was like, what happened? I don't even know, but I know I feel different. I told everyone about it. I was like, oh my God, amazing. So I'd see him every 2 weeks, maybe like after 3 appointments. I won 4 contests. I had 5 job offers. I had um, people pursuing me on the street to like try and take me out on the date. I had someone roll down their window in traffic to be like, hey, can I get your number? I was like, what is happening? I was like, this has never happened in my like 8 years in Toronto. I was like, what is happening? So the vibration that I was giving off changed. So when you're in a closed, locked out mindset of like, this sucks, everything's going to continue to suck. And I started to change my vibration. I was changing what was coming into my life. And it was like profound. Like there's a big, in my Toronto studio, I have this huge crystal and I won that crystal. That was one of the crystals I won during that time when I won stuff. And my healer at the time had said, your energy is so black with everyone else's stuff. So every time I put my hands on someone, I was just taking their pain, taking their sadness without even intuitively knowing I was doing that. And the sad part is I wish I knew this way back in the day because I'm an empath. I can feel what people feel. High school, I was the crier. Elementary school, I was the sensitive girl. I could feel everything so profoundly that I didn't even know it wasn't mine and that I was feeling everyone else's. So once I kind of like figured that out, that also started to shift my perspective of like what I was seeing on the table, what clients were coming in with. And then there was like this like force field around them that I was like, someone just passed away in your family. And they'd be like, what? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's happening, but I can feel it. And so it was like this learning game of being like, what is going on?
Oh my goodness. You went from being a total cog in the wheel and making a little, like, I can just picture like a little Kendra in a hamster wheel, like
Yes.
pouring all this money and energy into other people's businesses or clinics. And then all of a sudden it was like it sounds like you just started like taking little pieces of yourself back.
Yeah.
You're like, nope, that's mine now. Oh, yep, that's mine. And then eventually you became whole again after you had spent years of just giving all these pieces of you away and then allowing others and emotions to come
Mm-hmm.
in those missing places. And you just like slowly started this process of like everything coming back to you, like Kendra becoming whole again.
Yeah.
So it's really beautiful that you were able to find that awareness. And yeah, it's just beautiful. That story about your healer, that's amazing.
Oh
Wow.
my God. There was so many things that like he's still a very dear friend to me now. But there were so many things that we had talked about that I was like, oh my God, he's listening to my thoughts. Cause he would say stuff that I was like, no one knows that, but because I was just thinking it. And I was like, who are you? And but it's all the perception, right? Like if I can tell you're uncomfortable, your energy is going to give you uncomfortable. Like I can tell. Do you know what I mean? Even if you're smiling and you're like, ah, yeah, like, but you know that you're uncomfortable. So he was just reading the energy he's obviously been doing it for a long time. And yeah, it is, healing I tell this to clients, it is a forever journey. And it's not a one and done, unfortunately, but like it's it's challenging. It's a roller coaster. Like, I was feeling so much better, then I'd hit rock bottom, and then I'd feel so much better, and then I'd hit rock bottom. And then, how I explain it is like the wave isn't as deep. So it's kind of more like a rolling wave instead of like, like the jagged up and downs. But yeah, I have this today, like, so this journey started, let's say 2018, 2017. Today in 2025, like, I appreciate my younger self so much, but I almost don't even recognize her because of the changes that have happened and the growth and the empowerment and the authenticity that is like now, like it feels like it oozes out of me. Like it's still uncomfortable, but it's like showing itself a lot more. And it's like, wow, like how long did I shut this off or like not even know it was there? And like, I'm not sad about it, but it's kind of just like, it's wild what you're able to do when you're put in situations to close yourself off, right?
Yeah, I think back to when you had done a photo shoot for your website and then you had just recently redone it. And I resonated with that so much because you had said, you're like, I don't even recognize that girl. And I think when we go through these vibration journeys of changing our own vibrations. We've actually talked about this on the podcast. I forget who it was, but we just talked about this, how you can actually change your physical body. Like your frequency changes what you look like, how you carry yourself. And it's almost like some people like, and I used to have like really, really short hair, and I've met people in like the recent years who haven't recognized me. And I'm like, this person didn't recognize me. And I'm like, that's so rude. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I think I have changed so much. Not only just hair and like those little like aesthetic things, but I think when your vibration rises and your frequency just changes and you start resonating at this different pace, people really don't recognize yourself. You don't recognize yourself. Like there is a physical change in these journeys. And of course you get older and more mature and like you're sorting that all out. And it's just, I feel like the physical changes always blow my mind because yeah, you don't recognize yourself from before.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, yeah, you know this journey with me and my photos because I just like I cringe when I look at them because I was like I just who she is compared to who I am now. Even I think it was 2021 was my photos, and I, as you know, I just redid them this just in January, and it was like I cried. I cried after the photo shoot because I was like that was the first time I was seen. What a wild experience to say that out loud, to be like, I was finally seen for who I am. Because I think a lot of people like have a perspective of you. And I mean, like, I mean this in the kindest way possible, but I think that like my family doesn't really know who I am too at times. Like they see what I portray, but they don't genuinely know what goes on, you know? So it's very interesting. And I remember even like when I had done a post when I admitted that I was going through depression and just like wanted to share to help people. None of my friends had a clue, not one of them. And they were like, what do you mean you're depressed? They're like, you're always smiling. My mom said the same thing. She's like, you're always happy. Like, well, you're not depressed. And like, unfortunately, it was not the, she knows that it wasn't the best way to respond to me admitting that I was depressed, but I was so good at putting on a good face that no one had a clue. And it's like, I say this like a lot to my clients is don't judge a book by its cover because you do not know what people are silently battling behind the scenes. Right.
Yeah, and that I think is so much a part of becoming unbound and understanding that like you can only live for so long wearing a mask. And I feel that so many times we've like masked these little parts of us because we're like, oh, maybe, and we will always want to stay safe, secure, and probably very small, but then we end up like covering that like that goofy side of us or that like part that's really really sad all the time, or just because we like want to put up these walls, we want to create this facade. So we mask all these different parts of us. And we're like, okay, if I do all these things, then I will be liked, I will have community, and like nobody will know. And I'll just like go about my day. And then there are those moments where you are just cracked wide open. You're like, no, I'm done. Like there's no more masking, there's no more covering up. This has to change. And it reminds me of something that like, my coach says is just like, through every breakdown is the breakthrough. Like you have to sometimes, and it's so hard because you have to go into those dark moments and go into those caves. And then, yes, and I think the understanding of like going in, getting dark, going inwards and understanding is like so necessary. Even at the time, like, oh my gosh, there's so many things that can happen on the other side of depression. I can't even imagine what that would feel like. And you got to see the worst parts of yourself then to discover the lightest, most highest frequency
Pure.
vibrational parts of yourself that are so lit up now, that are so powerful,
Yeah.
that like you enter a room or people come into your space and like you're just like, oh, I'm so excited to see you. Like I know that's my experience of you. It's like every time I walk into your space, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm here. Okay, like
Yeah.
I'm with Kendra. She's like in good hands.
I
Literally.
appreciate that. Appreciate that. It is like that's it's hard to explain it to people because like it's not just a month of like crappy because sometimes it comes in waves and it's when your body's ready. Like my journey, a piece of my journey, like I call it Pandora's box because my body protected me for 25 years before it like opened up to let me know different layers where like 25 years it's suppressed. Like that's the protective mechanism of your body. So you can't just be like, okay, heal my trauma. Like, I'm ready. Like it's like it's like literally a onion, like a very like million layered onion. And it's, your body won't do it unless it's protected, right? Or like feels safe. So you have to feel safe in these moments. And that's it's hard to make your body feel safe if you're like, I'm safe. I'm okay. I'm in my house. I'm safe. And it's like, no, you're not, because your body's like, oh, I'm scared. I don't want to do this. Like, so yeah, there's so many, but like the lightness on that other side, or just that like, oh, I don't feel just as dark as I did yesterday. There's like something so like relieving of that. And like, don't get me wrong, we all have bad days. Like, I have days I cry. There's days I don't leave the couch. Like, we're humans, but it's also just being honoring that, hey, I'm having a bad day. We're just gonna chill with the bad day for a bit and like keep it to a day. Like, I don't want to do this for days, but like, let's just allow myself to process whatever it needs to process, or binge a show or read a book or whatever.
Read those books. That reminds me so much of like, I had a really good friend in university, and she just said like, okay, this is how much time you have to feel sad. I was going through a
Mhm.
breakup at the time. She was like, this is how long we have. You have until Friday at noon. And I was in university, so I'm sure after Friday at noon, we had some plan.
Party or something. Yeah.
Oh, party to go to or something like that. But it was like, it actually changed my life, because I was like, yes, okay, I do have just 3 days, and I'm going to sit in it, and I'm going to feel it all. And then Friday at noon, I'm going to be ready to like shed this and go on to the next chapter. And whether that's, there still could be like lingering sadness, of course, in those moments, but like sit in it, feel it. And I think that is like, you have to feel it out as a human being. Like, this is the human experience. Hi, welcome. And there's
Totally.
gonna be those times that like you gotta sit in the mud. And then there are times where you're like, okay, you know what? My time is up. The life that I want to keep living is on the other side of this sadness. So I'm going head on into it, and I've allowed myself to feel it. And sometimes, you don't even need that much time. And I think one of the markers for me, and I love that you said, like, okay, it's going to be a day, is that the turnaround time gets shorter and shorter. Like, you
Totally.
learn these tools to all of a sudden be like, okay, that last time I was really sad, or I was having kind of an episode, or I was hijacked by emotions, it took me like 48 hours to get over it. And this time it was like, that was only a day. And like, oh, I actually caught myself. And within 3 hours, I'd snapped myself out of it, and I'd felt it all. And then I was ready to move on. So those turnaround times, I think, are a really good indication that you are getting better at self-regulating, sitting in the mud for whatever time you need, and then finding those tools, whether it's going for a massage, booking an
Yeah.
energy session, or taking that bath, or reading that book, or just like turning your mind off, going for a walk. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have all these tools that I can use. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I just took an hour,
Yeah.
and now it's becoming better.
And I think that's like also the piece of like, you're acknowledging that you're not okay. I think that's also the first step, or just like acknowledging that like, oh, I know I'm overreacting, but I can't not overreact in this moment. So it's like, it's okay. At least you're acknowledging it. You're having the self-awareness to be like, whoo, I can see what's happening. That was like I just recently started again with psychosomatic therapy. And it's like more, because I'm a feeler, like I can feel emotions or feel discomfort very quickly in my body, even though my logical brain can't catch, like it doesn't catch it with my logical brain. But I'm like, okay, there's tightness in my chest, I can't breathe, the thought of me looking at my computer is making me want to vomit, there's something going on there, and like I can tap into it really fast, but I just need that help of that coach to kind of guide me of where it's coming up. And a lot of the time it's something from your past. A lot of the time it's like you were forced to sit in front of the computer, or like, who knows? So you know what I mean? So it's like something that your body's like, I don't like this. I don't like this. But we were so quick to like dismiss it as being like, oh, you're just anxious, or like you're overwhelmed. But it's like, no, your body needed you to be like, hey, I don't want to do this today. Can we like try a different route, and like honoring that and like allowing it to process, which sometimes is the hardest part. Like you were saying, like sometimes you just need to do your things. So it's hard when you're like, okay, I can't do the things today.
Yeah. I love that point of like, we just actually had a somatic therapist on the podcast
Wicked.
last week. And it's so beautiful, that process of like starting to identify, finding awareness. That's great. Becoming the observer. And then also going inwards and being like, where is this in my body? Because your body doesn't lie. Like, and then to trust this beautiful vessel that you have of like, ooh, I don't want to do that. Like, and I think even this was like one of my thoughts as I was breaking out was like going to work. My body was like anxious and tight. I was like, I don't want to go to work. And I'm like, I don't think this is right. Like this visceral body reaction that I'm having to getting ready to get in my car. Like I'm tight everywhere. I can't breathe. Why is this happening? And a lot of people dismissed it. They're like, oh, well, everybody hates going to work. And it's like, eh,
Yeah.
maybe everybody does. And maybe we could all have a little bit of trust in our body to know that like, yeah, that getting up, going to the clinic, going to the school, going to the office, like maybe those feelings that you have are real. And maybe you can trust them and you can make changes accordingly. Yes, you got to pay your bills. I get that. And is there like a little other thing that you could do? Is there something that you can start to listen to your own body and be like, whoa, something is up here?
Yeah, I hope you've honored yourself with that, because you honoring that something didn't feel right is huge, right? Because I can tell you in my line of work, there was a time there was probably 50% of my clients hated their jobs, but they stayed with it because of pensions or because of the pay, and no one, I was like, well, what would you do if you could? And they tell me these elaborate stories of what they would wish they could do, but they're like, I can't. And you're just like, oh, okay, that doesn't make sense to me, but like, okay. Like if that's what you need, I guess that's what you need. But like, you have to honor that. Like that's like so beautiful that you listened to that gut instinct of being like, this doesn't feel good. Like it's not for the faint of heart. Like you acted on your heart, you know?
Yeah, and I would say like if that's the feeling, it don't just brush it off. And families and people are going to be like, yeah, no, that's just normal. Like,
Yeah,
I
100%.
don't think so. And I think I'm going to question this. And I think I'm going to figure out what is going on here.
Yep.
Which kind of brings me back to the idea of freedom. Now, everyone has their different ideas of freedom and what that looks like in their everyday life. But for you, Kendra, like what does freedom for you feel like, look like what all the senses? What is freedom for you?
I think I'm walking the line towards freedom, but I don't think I'm 100% where I want to be with freedom. But it's like that going with the wind. It's gonna sound silly. It's gonna go with the wind where you just flow what feels good. There's no pressure. There's no restraints. Like I love my job. I love what I do. Sometimes I don't want to work, like you just said, but being able to pick and choose of like what I get to do in my day is very much freedom. But there's also some beautiful freedom with just, I think we talked about this once, like freedom or what's rich in your life. And I was like, having lunch with you midday on a Tuesday. And it's like there's beautiful freedom in the way that things come into our life and how they teach us what's going on. So the life I'm living is my freedom because I'm building the life I want without anyone else's input. Obviously my wife's, but but like I'm not doing it because I have to. I'm doing it because I truly love this and I want to build something to be left behind. Like I'm going to build my legacy and that is like the burning fire within me that like I'm going to leave this legacy that will help people, and that's like the burning freedom. So yeah, that's what I would say.
That, yeah, and I think there's so many also different versions of rich. Like, what's
Hmm.
a time? And I love this question. I just remembered it. It's an amazing analogy. It's like, what is a time where you felt like you were rich? And whether it is just like taking a extravagant lunch break with a friend in the middle of your day,
Yep.
like that could feel like you are rich. And that moment you were like, I'm luxury. Like, look at
Yeah.
me, I'm luxury. And so I think more of those moments, and whether it's really connecting in a conversation at like a fancy party or something, like how can you incorporate more moments where you feel a sense of richness, and not necessarily due to the numbers in your bank account, but like
Yeah.
what feels rich in your life. Like think about even the definition of that. It could be like a rich dark color. It could be a rich hot chocolate. Like what is it in that moment? And I think having more of those moments and like
Hmm.
doing that those things that make you feel that way, like that could be freedom. And I reflect on that lunch all the time. And it
Me
was really
too.
for me too, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm having lunch in the middle of the day with one of my friends. Like, look at me. Like, child.
Seriously, I say that all the time. I was like, this is so rich. And like this year, my goal is to like see more of my friends and like make these lunches instead of always like work, 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 work. And I've been doing them here and there. And I'll be like, oh, I'm going to go for acupuncture midday. And it's like, these are like rich moments where I'm like, I'm prioritize my need to eat, my need to see my friends, and my need to get self-care. So I'm like, that is rich to me for sure.
Yeah, and you also trust that you can take that time and the universe or God, creator provides. Like in those moments when you decide to wholeheartedly take care of yourself, be with a friend, get into connection, and you miss work or you don't book that person or you don't work on that project or you do something that's in your head, you're like, oh, this could have been a time where I made
Yeah.
money. It's like, but you're trusting and taking like having that faith to be like the universe has me. I know that this is going to enrich my life
Yeah.
and I will be okay and the money will come and I can trust that or I'm going to have exactly enough of what I need. That's so beautiful. All right, note to self, book another lunch with Kendra.
Yes. Yes. We need all the lunches.
Yes. So if you could look back on your child self, younger Kendra, who was just out of university, or even just to someone who is in that same position where they're feeling stuck, they're a cog in the wheel, they're running this hamster wheel. And what would you sort of tell them? What would be the first step just to be like, do this as just a first baby step? Because taking really giant steps in this process can feel really scary. But what's the first most comforting thing that someone who's feeling stuck could do?
Trust. I use this word because it's on my like tarot cards that I use all the time. It's like trust the niggle. So trust that feeling, that sense that like it just doesn't feel right. Like you're not really sure what it is, but just trust that. Like lean into that. If it's like, I don't want to work today, then trust it. See what it is. Be like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm sick today. Like, I know I'm not saying that all the time, but trust those moments where something is like halting you in your steps. There were so many moments that I listened to my parents or I listened to my bosses to be like, no, you have to work today. No, you have to do this. You have to do this. And it's like, I wish I had just paused and been like, no, what do you actually want? Like, what is your body telling you? Because we have the same outlining body, but we're very different. So how your body functions is different than how mine functions. So who am I to tell you that you're doing something wrong or you're doing something different when it pertains to your body in this sense of saying like, oh, you're fine. You can do another client or you're fine. No, trust that and say no. And just trust. If I was going to talk to my younger self, I would just say like, the struggles that you go through bring you to where you are today. And they help you understand how strong you are, what is really important, who's really important, and provides you with these tools that even though like a lot of these things that I've gone through in my life, like everyone kind of breaks you, but the rebuilding is the most beautiful. The phoenix from the ashes is the most beautiful part because I wouldn't be who I am today without my younger self. And that journey, I wouldn't change it. Yeah, there's some crappy things that have happened, but would I change it? No, because it's made me who I am. It's made me compassionate. It's made me an empath that I am. And it's provided me with the tools for how I treat and how the knowledge I am. So just trust. If something doesn't feel good, trust it. There's a reason your body's telling you that. And just see what happens. What's wrong with trusting yourself and taking a day off or whatever it is, going to get a test or going to do this or going out for coffee instead of going to the mall. Like just trust it because your body knows, and yourself, your higher self, the source, the energy, universe, whatever is trusting. You just got to trust into it.
Love that so much. That little voice inside your head, and whether it's talking from your stomach or talking from your head or like on your shoulders, like whatever, that little voice, that body feeling, that sensation, like that is so important. And I don't ever like, I feel like I don't ever want to say like, oh, just, yeah, like you said, like don't like skip out on work,
Yeah.
but like also know that you're going to be there the next day.
Hmm.
And the world's going to go on without you. And maybe in that day where you took time to pause and listen and get quiet, there's something profound waiting for you when you do just listen for that moment in time. And that's so, that gives me like goosebumps everywhere. It's such a key thing. And that was the thing that I did. I was just like, yeah, no, this doesn't feel right. Like, nope, I'm going to try something else. And it was a slow
Yeah.
process, very slow,
Yeah.
like years, 2 years almost of like deciding like, oh no, from the time that I was like,
Totally. And those are going to be times probably when you said yes, when you meant to say no. And like, it's a learning process, but like trusting that like you know best, and that your body and you know what you need in those moments. Like, yeah, there's lots of times where like had someone passed away or something, and everyone's like, no, you have to go to work. And I was like, what? I don't want to go to work. I'm crying. No, but you need to go to work. You need to go, keep going. And I was like, well, in this moment, no, I do not need to go to work because I'm going to go home and soothe myself. Like, like, so in those moments, just trust that your body's telling you this for a reason, you know?
I love that. Oh, thank you so much, Kendra. That was such a
Thanks.
beautiful, so much wisdom. Thank you for sharing your journey here. Um, I hope everyone got something. There's so many golden nuggets in there. So I hope everyone was able to listen and hear, and maybe even make some changes in their life.
Thanks so much for having us, as in you.
All right, friends. Well, that is a wrap on today's episode of Becoming Unbound. I hope this conversation with Kendra inspired you to explore the new ways of healing and stepping into your most aligned life. If you loved this episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the podcast with someone who needs to hear it. Your support means the world and helps me reach more freedom minded listeners like you. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Becoming Unbound.